Hey guys, it's Carla. Today I'm going to paint this shack in the rain. I'm using an 8x10 canvas panel with acrylic paint. This is white, yellow, phthalo blue, black, raw umber, raw sienna, and red. I'm going to start with a synthetic angle brush. You could use a flat brush or whatever, but we just need to cover the sky. So I'm going to pick up some white, a little bit of yellow, and some blue. Okay, so I want to start down here at my horizon line. Which will be about 2/3 down the canvas. And as I go up, I'm going to add more blue to the mix. But as I get more of a blue shade going up, I want to blend it down into my lighter shade, so just back and forth. Okay, now I'm going to pick up blue with a touch of black. Because I want this top part to be really dark. And again, I don't want a sudden change, so I'm going to blend it down, up, down, up until it's very subtle. Okay, now I want to start forming my mountain. And I'm still using that same brush, but if you need to switch to a smaller brush, you can do that. And I'm going to pick up some raw umber and raw sienna. And decide a shape for my mountain. And you can come up with your own shape. Okay, so there's my mountain. Okay. And now the distant field, we'll put this front part in after we put in the shack. But there's a field back here. And I'll go ahead and use that brown mixture, add some more raw sienna to it and some red. Maybe even a little bit of yellow. All right, so now I'm gonna, again, if you want to switch to a different brush, you can, but I'm just being lazy. Okay, now when you're putting in the ground in the distance, everything's going to kind of look horizontal. Where up close it's going to be more like vertical. But this back here, it's so far away that all you're seeing is like different levels, different planes. So it's all going to be pretty much vertical. Okay, so now that I've got my my sky, my mountain, and my most distant field, I'm ready for the shack. So what I want to do is dry this and come back and either draw the shack on with a pencil or just paint it on with the paintbrush. So I've not decided exactly what I'm going to do on that, but I'm going to go ahead and dry this. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and use a pencil for a charcoal pencil for this. To draw on the outline of the house. Alright, so I'm going to go about more than halfway over toward the left and about right inside my mountain. I'm going to come up with the angle of the roof and then this one kind of slants upward a little bit, and this is a shack, so everything's not all squared. It might have a droopy roof or saggy or whatever. Come over to about right there, and then down at an angle. How far down? I'm going to go ahead and bring this across parallel with this so I'll know where to go from there. Okay, so this comes down at about the same angle as that. Maybe not quite, but okay, so there's my roof. So this would come down a little bit farther because it's in the back. And then right here we've got the edge of the house. Back here, another edge. Another one there. Okay, now I'm not going to draw in all the little details because I'll be painting over them. So this gives me the basic shape of my shack. All right, so now I'm going to switch to a smaller angle brush. And go ahead and start blocking in my house. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make all this white so that it'll cover that background. And most of it's going to be white anyway, so go ahead and get that filled in. And let's see. Trying to decide what to do with the roof. I think I'll rinse that white out. Pick up some red. A little touch of brown. Maybe a little raw sienna. Alright, and I'm just going to fill this in with that sort of rusty color. Okay, now this side over here is dark. It's in the shade, in the shadow. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of black, maybe add it to this. Just looking for a dark color. If you add white to it, you can kind of see what shade you're getting. Okay, I'm going to pick up a little blue. Okay, I think I like that shade. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and use that shade with my angle brush, and using the sharp edge, I'm going to go ahead and put in the slats. Don't feel like this has to be perfect because this is just an old shack. Alright, now with an even smaller angle brush, just use whatever size you're comfortable with as far as, you know, the size your cabin is or the size your canvas is. And I want a dark color for the windows. So I'm just going to use that. Some blue to it. Just some kind of dark, almost black shade. Okay, so over here I want a window. And one over here. And then I'm going to add some white to that. And put in my door. Alright, now I need a little roof on the porch. So I'm going to pick up some brown, a little phthalo blue, and I want my porch roof to come out at a slight angle from the roof of the house. And then it comes all the way across to about, it angles, so both of these angles go in that direction. So it's just a little slither of roof that you'll be able to see. Alright, and then with some white, I'm just going to use that dirty brush. Kind of highlight it here at the bottom. Put a little piece of a highlight up there. Okay, now with this dark shade, I'm going to put in my little eave back here. Okay, before I get too far along, I'm going to use this light color, this dirty white, and put my windows in. Maybe brighten up around each window. And the door. All right, now something has to hold that porch roof up, so I'm gonna put in some posts. There's one under that corner, one under this corner, and we'll put two in the middle. Alright, and then we've got a, I want to darken that a little bit with some black. Just a really dark brown shade for the porch. So the porch comes across here. All the way to this post. So this post is sitting on the porch, and then it comes back toward the house. And this just kind of comes down. There'll be weeds coming up over it, so we're not concerned about the bottom part of it. We just want to kind of fill it in. Okay, and then I need a kind of a light shade for the flat part of the porch, which you can barely see. Okay, now I need to put some highlights on the roof to make it look like a kind of like a metal roof. So I'm going to get some yellow, some red, touch of brown, and I just want to skim this across in the angle of the roof, so like going up like sheets of metal or tin. Maybe grab a little white for a highlight. Just keep the direction going parallel with these edges. Just kind of tapping across here for the porch roof. Okay, now with that really dark shade, I think this was black and blue and brown, I'm going to get a sharp edge on my brush and put in some depth. Maybe these posts, maybe one side is shaded and one side is lit. Yeah, that makes them show up better. All right. Okay, so now it looks like we've got some maybe, I don't know, something these posts are underneath each post. Maybe it's a concrete support. Okay, I think I want some more of that dark color. If you don't have it dark enough, it's gonna, if you don't have dark areas against the white, against the light areas, it's gonna look really flat. I feel like this would be kind of dirtier in places. Just gonna kind of tap in some just some imperfections. All right, now with just plain white, clean brush. Gonna brighten some of the highlights. I'm just barely skimming this with the side of my brush. Now you might be able to see little indications of slats running across the side of the house here. But this is just very subtle. Okay, now rinse my brush and I'm gonna go in with white again. Kind of brighten up some areas. I just want to make sure that when I get my rain on here that my cabin doesn't disappear. Okay, now I'm going to work on my ground some more. All right, if I can find a place for this, I'm gonna mix up some yellow, blue, and red just to kind of gray it down a little bit. Maybe scoop up some of that. That's raw sienna and brown. All right, so back here, we've got another layer of ground. And let's see, it would come about to there. But I want it to be a subtle change right there. I don't want anything real obvious. Okay, so at this point I'm going to cover up all of my white canvas that's left showing. And I'm just putting a base color in for my foreground. Color, plus I want it to be a little bit darker right here at the very front. There we go. Now, because this is just the base color, it doesn't matter as far as the direction of my strokes, because I'm just trying to get some color under there. Okay, so now that I've got my color, I'm gonna dry this so that I can put my weeds in. All right, I've got this dry, and I'm gonna go ahead and start putting in the weeds. I'm gonna first start with my angle brush, my synthetic angle brush, and then I'll switch to the palette knife. Okay, so a lot of these weeds are this raw sienna with some white. Now I want to leave some of that bright, but then some of it I want to put some brown in, maybe some red. Okay, so what the brush is going to do is give us like a subtle, maybe a little fuzzy edged weeds. And then with the palette knife, I can get those crisp ones in the front. Okay, so in places, I can use the flat part of the brush, and just sweep up some weeds. And then I can turn it this way and get some, you know, a little bit more defined weeds. And remember, weeds go in different directions, so don't make them all parallel with each other. Okay, now I'm going to use a palette knife, and you can use a plastic one or a metal one, whichever you have or prefer. And I'm going to scrape up some of that color and bring it up and in different directions. Remember, it goes in different directions. Start at the bottom, bring it up, and it gives you those sharp weeds because we've already got our blurry ones in, and we just need some more defined ones. I'm just mixing all kinds of colors together. Okay, so I went ahead and dried this because it's time to put my rain in, and I don't want to pick up the colors from the weeds. So I'm going to use my small angle brush, scoop up some white, put a little bit of blue in it. Okay, now I don't want all that paint on there. Okay, so I don't want my rain to be boring, just coming straight down. So I'm gonna put an angle to it. So I'm gonna decide how much of an angle and just very lightly drag just in little short strokes, just drag the brush across with the sharp edge. Don't be afraid to come down over your house. That's what rain does. When you're putting in your rain, just make sure that, just try to think of this as a blank canvas. Don't think about that there's a house there or that there's mountains or weeds, because your mind will automatically want to avoid those areas. This needs to look very natural, like it's, you know, when it rains, it doesn't try to avoid anything. It rains on everything. And don't stay in one spot, because if you do, you'll make patterns like rows of raindrops. So just kind of skip around. Okay, I rinsed my brush, and now I want to go back with just plain white and kind of put a few little brighter drops in. Okay guys, there's our rainy day cabin shack. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that. And check out my other videos. There's a bunch of them. So until next time, thanks for watching. Bye guys.